वो ये है कि आप चूंकि उस वक्त अमेरिका में थी, स्टूडेंट थी, तो जब आपको ये पता लगा, क्या आपके रिएक्शन था, क्या आपकी फीलिंग थी? ऑफ कोर्स आपको इत्तला तो मिल रही होगी कि जो परसिक्यूशन हो रही थी जुल्फकार अली भुट्टो साहब की पाकिस्तान में एट द हैंड्स ऑफ जनरल जिया एंड हिज junta,
जी,
तो
I'll answer.
जी, तो
Sorry.
क्या आपके क्या रिएक्शन थे?
रजा, मैं कॉलेज में थी उस जमाने में. नो इंटरनेट, नो नथिंग. You had to go to a library और अखबार पढ़ना था. They had some English papers and all. So I was totally incommunicado जब मैं अमेरिका में थी. I had contact with my brothers जो वो लंदन में थे. Otherwise I had no contact. मेरी माँ जेल में थी, मेरे बाप जेल में था, मेरी बहन जेल में थी. किसको मालूम when they're out of jail, when they're back in jail. Sometimes I would try and dial 70 Cliff. वो कोई नहीं था 70 Clifton में. So I had no idea. मेरा भाई का एक दोस्त है जो रात को मुझे फोन करता है and says, by the way, I want you to know your father. I said, he's joking. I didn't believe it. In a way, maybe survival instinct था. इंसान जब बाहर है, all alone, not knowing where to go, what to do. America didn't know. In England, हाँ, लोगों को मालूम है. They're very interested in politics and in international politics abroad. अमेरिका में लोगों को उस जमाने में मालूम नहीं था पाकिस्तान कहाँ है. So it was a very difficult. So it was in a way very easy for me to say, oh, वो नहीं हुआ, पता नहीं ये लड़के ने क्यों मुझे फोन किया, तू इत्तला करो मी. And I just, in my mind, I couldn't accept it, to be honest with you. बहुत time लगा till I finally, even when I went back to Pakistan after my father said he didn't want me there in Pakistan while he was in a death cell. और मुश्किल भी था मेरे family के लिए, इसलिए कौन संभालेगा? What are they going to do with me when they're all in jails? And they weren't the type to say, oh, हम जेल में, चलो सनम को भी जेल ले जाते हैं. Like the first time when I came back, वो martial law order आया मेरी माँ के लिए और बहन के लिए, सब जेल लड़काना, और एक एक्स्ट्रा पेपर लाए, बोले ये तुम्हारी बेटी के लिए है, सनम के लिए. So मेरी माँ बोली सनम क्यों जेल में जाएगी? Why should she go? Just because we're going to jail. So I, luckily मेरी बहन की एक सहेली आई थी from Oxford. So she and I stayed in 70 Clifton, and we had staff, Purane staff, and also we were not afraid. And लोग डरते थे 70 Clifton आने. So we were quite safe, to be honest with you. There's always a CID outside or someone or the other कोई नहीं आता. So you were safe. But the thing is, it took me a long time to accept my father. It's not an easy thing for a person to go through, you know. And looking back, when the pillar of your family goes, of course we all shattered. Of course, when I see, to look back and see what happened to my family, it was bound to happen. How can you do what they did to us without, I don't know, it's something that I still haven't got around my head to, that you snuff out a human life like that, put him in exile, put him in jail for life, but to kill somebody who just turned 50 years old. I mean, my father was 30 years old, as I mentioned earlier, when he was a minister. He was a young man. He was 33 years old when the 65 war. You go to a civilian who's a 33-year-old kid and you say, how do we do the war? Why didn't they go to generals? Why didn't they go to colonels? Why didn't they go to the field marshal to ask how to do a war? You go to a kid and tell a kid who's a diplomat, who's just become a foreign minister, what do we do? Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. And when you think
sense.
of his age, if he was some sage of 65 and had, been in this war and studied every war till then, I'd say, okay. But a 33-year-old guy, he knew about GNB and few and one or two other important, and that was it.
Bilkul.
And he wasn't a military strategist, he was a smart guy, but I mean, there's a limit to.
There's a limit.
That's the way life. And every book, oh, it was him. Why did you go to him to ask him what to do during the 65 war? Was there no one in Pakistan to consult who knew military strategy?
बिल्कुल. ये तो
I'm sorry, I get very emotional and upset.
हाँ जी, नहीं, I know 30s में थे, 37 की उम्र क्या होती है?
33, 36 के थे, not even 37.
36, sorry. जी,
right. So sorry.
नहीं, आप बिल्कुल सही कह रही हैं और बिल्कुल ये बात आनी चाहिए और ये बड़ा अहम पॉइंट है. इसके ऊपर कोई बात नहीं करता कि जी वो सारा ब्लेम जो है 65 वॉर का वो हमेशा डाल दिया जाता है कि जी भुट्टो ने ये कर दिया.
और मैं ताज्जुब में बैठती हूँ कि कैसे उसके पास क्यों गए? कोई और नहीं था दुनिया में.
जी.
Go and study Alexander, Julius Caesar's maps. everyone has written about Napoleon. Go ask them what to do, or read their books, or go to ask him what did Napoleon say, maybe, or what did Alexander do when he went to Corinth. But don't say you decide the strategy.
तो फिर आप पाकिस्तान कब गईं, जब ये इसके 79 में फिर आप जब घर गईं?
So मैं summer 79 में वापस गई. You see, as soon that my mother wanted me back, but my father said no, and I didn't blame him. It's just too much trouble to have your children there when you're fighting for your life.
बिल्कुल.
But I went back in the summer, late summer in 79.
और उस वक्त बेनजीर साहिबा तो मेरे ख्याल से जेल, उनको तो काफी देर उन्होंने रखा था.
So they had just come out. इसलिए मैं वापस गई. इसलिए वो कराची में थे. My mother came hidden there, hiding to come to the airport. But so then I think 1 महीना या 3 हफ्ते थे, and then the martial law orders came. One paper for my mother, one for my sister, or one for me. But my mother said, उसको क्यों हम ले जाए और सब जेल में lock करें? जब उस, they said just in case.
बिल्कुल.
Anyway.
I know. और भाई आपके दोनों बाहर थे, exile में चले गए थे. बड़ा ये डिफिकल्ट टाइम था. ये तो आपने एक पिलर की बात की है, लेकिन जिस तरह से एक खानदान को टारगेट करके और एक एग्जाम्पल बना के, खैर वो सिलसिला बंद नहीं हुआ. आज भी आप पढ़ती होंगी पाकिस्तान की न्यूज, कहाँ तक अभी भी यही मामला चल रहा है. बट एनीवे, कमिंग बैक टू ZAB, मैं ये चाहूंगा कि आप थोड़ी सी अपनी उनकी while he was the प्राइम मिनिस्टर, जो उससे पहले सारा टर्बुलेंट जो ये हुआ 77 के बाद, उससे पहले जो 5 साल वो वजीर आजम, पहले प्रेसिडेंट, फिर वजीर आजम रहे, तो उस दौर में आपकी क्या यादें हैं?
आप पाकिस्तान में थी जब?
जी, I was in school.
प्रेसिडेंट एंड प्राइम मिनिस्टर थे.
I was in Karachi grammar school. फिर again my parents said हम इस्लामाबाद हैं, 3 बच्चे उधर, पता नहीं पढ़ेंगे नहीं पढ़ेंगे. They said come to इस्लामाबाद, हम स्कूल ढूंढेंगे. So उधर A level नहीं था उस जमाने में. So I went to American school, International School of Islamabad, last 2.5 years. So मैं वहाँ थी definitely, yeah.
और उस वक्त क्या होता था PM हाउस में, जो आप लोग रहते थे, तो क्या जो फादर आपने पहले बताया बहुत बिजी होते थे?
बिल्कुल. My parents were busy not just when they became prime minister. My parents were busy from the 30s when they became minister the first time. But we had nannies and we had survived. The 4 kids were close because it was unique, I think. Usually जो ministers होते थे वो older होते थे, बच्चे उनके बड़े होते थे. With us we were 5, 4, 2. My brother was only 2 years old, Shahnawaz, when my father became minister. And that, so, but anyway, my parents were always busy, and my mother also was busy with him. Not as much as my father, obviously. But
you were born in Rawalpindi, were you not?
No, we were all born in the Holy Family Hospital, Karachi. Yeah, all 4 of us were born there.
तो जब आपके वालिद थे वजीर आजम और इतने बड़े लीडर और इतने पॉपुलर और हर वक्त, तो उस वक्त क्या आपके साथ कितना टाइम गुजरता था और क्या बातें होती थी?
Quality time guzarta tha. And as we became older, so he would finish work by 11:30, 12 o'clock. Usse bachon logon ko bulao, and we'd go running to sit with them. So whenever we had time. And another thing, he did us a great favor. Jidhar bhi jate the, my father, while he was prime minister, har sube, every summer we Balochistan jate the, Sarhad jate the, Malakka. I mean, I've been the world, all over Pakistan, and my father would insist. Sometimes we say, "Hi, हमें नहीं जाना है, दोस्तों के साथ रहना है, या कराची जाना है," and he'd say, "No, this is your country. Come and see it." And I was so fortunate because I got to see places that no one. Now I think things are open up, but in those days it was like no one got to see. So I have lovely memories of Quetta in the summers. And there were those pistachio trees, and my mother would say, "This is what the real, being Iranian and pistachios, the green tree, from the trees we used to pluck it." My father would be working, but we'd be there, or in the evening in the garden. So that was, I had some very, very nice. So I've been from Sarhad to the Delta of Sindh. I've seen almost every part of Pakistan, to be honest. Yeah,
so
that's been.
ये जो busy schedule था भुट्टो साहब का, जब अयूब खान के पीरियड में भी वो मिनिस्टर थे, तो एक दफा मेरी आपसे बात हो रही थी कि आपने उनसे पूछा कि आप क्या करते हैं?
हाँ, इसलिए सुलग you know मैं क्यों पूछी, हम छोटे बच्चे थे, okay, and I guess you can see maybe the disparity. It was much smaller population. I think लोग इतने ज़्यादा गरीब नहीं थे, but I knew my father had a Cadillac, he had a gunman, उसके पास दफ्तर था, दफ्तर में मुझे वो blue और red pencil मुझे मिलता था और वो eraser मुझे मिलता था. I was like, wow, what does my father do? So out of curiosity, like a young child wants to know what their parents do. So I'd always say, but Papa, what do you do? So he'd laugh and tell me, he'd say, I'm with a real twinkle in his eye, he'd say, I'm a servant of the people. So that really helped me, because once I was in college and there were some people giving me a ride to my friends for Thanksgiving, my roommate's house. They were like, what does your father do? And my father was PM. So मैं बोली, ओ वो गवर्नमेंट में काम करते हैं, वो ये करते हैं. मुझसे बोले, अच्छा तो वो CIA में काम करते हैं. They started, you know, a little Pakistani girl, they could intimidate her. So अभी मैं क्या बोलूं? I said, actually, my father is a servant of the people. सब चुप हो गए. First of all, I think Americans have no idea what a servant of the people is.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सही कह रही हैं.
So he really, that's when it came back in my mind. You know, कभी-कभी इंसान भूल जाता है, and then when the right time comes, you're lucky. My father saved me. They kept all quiet.
तो जाहिर बात है उस वक्त तो आप बहुत छोटी थी, वो तो अंडरस्टैंडेबल बात है. You were a child, then you were a teenager, फिर कॉलेज चली गई. तो मुझे ये बताइए कि उसके बाद जो है, जब when you look back और फिर जाहिर बात है आप वापस आई और आपको पता लगा क्या हो रहा था पाकिस्तान में, तो क्या आप समझती हैं कि भुट्टो साहब की लेगेसी क्या थी? आपके वालिद क्या, उन्होंने क्या चीज बदली? You know, ये जो as his daughter, a proud daughter, a loving daughter,
he changed everything, Raza, as far as I think he really did. It's like maybe it's going back politically that way, where you do drawing room politics and all that. The first time the father was the first time he talked about the people, about the majority of the people who live in Pakistan who are poor. I remember Musa or someone was governor, and they said, oh, he did a public meeting in Hyderabad, there are only taxi drivers and rickshaw drivers, or gharib log gaye. That's what he wanted. He wanted the gharib log. He wasn't doing a party for the rich log. There were enough parties, Muslim League, XYZ, that was for the rich. This was a different thing. This was for the poor. And I think he did change it. In the old days, it was impossible to get a passport unless you were rich or a bureaucrat or a minister. You didn't get a passport. My father made passport for everybody. Telephone, passport, the right, the travel abroad. He was one of the first people to send people abroad for
employment.
Exactly. Talk to the talk to Libya, talk to the UAE. Made, you know, he really genuinely worked and believed in wanting to do good for Pakistan, wanting to improve the life of the poor people, which is the most important thing. What he did for women, the first deputy speaker of the assembly was Dr. Abbasi. He always encouraged women. If you see the first pilot or the first this or the first Muslim woman in Pakistan, they tell you either my sister or my father encouraged them. And just the fact that he let women, you know, he sent my sister abroad to study for Sindhi women, that was like a seismic shift, I'm sorry to say, because no one, they were allowed 5 years or 6th grade, and then they had to babysit their brothers and sisters. Now see them, mashallah, they're doctors, lawyers, they're headhunted abroad as pediatric surgeons. These are Sindhi women, which had no hope. If they couldn't find a cousin, they couldn't get married.
It's
true. I've seen it with my own eyes. My own cousins, my own whatever. My mother made my father let my half cousins get married, otherwise they wouldn't have had a chance. So I think he did a lot.
सनम, हम कुछ जाती चीजें जानना चाहेंगे. खाने में, what did he like?
Oh, my father was very simple. He didn't like fancy khana and all that. He hardly ate any food. Itna kaam karte the my father. I think he used to forget sona nahi sote the zyada. Khana nahi. Then my mother tea time would try to make little sandwiches or things and say, chalo, let him eat these things. We never ate grand khana in our house. We always ate simple food. Dal chawal was my favorite, and pomfret. So I didn't eat anything else. So I don't know. I'm sure other things were cooked. And of course, all our Sindhi dhokka bhi, all these nice, lovely things in Sindh which we get.
जी, बिल्कुल। तो ये बताएँ कि अब वो पॉलिटिक्स में तो ज़ाहिर-सी बात है, वो हम अब देखते भी हैं तस्वीरें। बेनज़ीर भुट्टो शहीद साहिबा जो थीं, वो शिमला भी गईं भुट्टो साहब के साथ, और वो कई मीटिंग्स में हमेशा होती थीं। अब वो सारी फुटेज भी आती है, तस्वीरें आती हैं, और ज़ाहिर-सी बात है उन्होंने अपनी किताब में भी लिखा है कि हाउ हर फादर ग्रूम्ड हर एंड गेव हर द पॉलिटिकल कॉन्शसनेस। सो वाज़ शी ऑलवेज़ द पॉलिटिकल स्टार इन द among the
You
four?
know, I think in the psychology of families, the elder child everyone has a space in their family, I feel. So my sister was the elder child, even though she wasn't much older than us. My parents really looked at her as an elder child. But as far as politics or talking to us about politics, he talked to all of us. We were all sitting in the same room when he would tell us. He was a great storyteller. He could tell stories really, really well. So he did. But I think Bibi had come back from college. She was the only child there at that time. And yes, while my father was in jail, he did groom her. But my father also told her, initially, he said to her, "You're my child. I don't want you to do this. You got your life ahead of you. You go away, leave." And she obviously said, "I won't leave. You're my father and I'll stay. And we'll do this together." And that's what happened. But my father didn't want 3 other children on his, not knowing what we're going to do, where we're going to be. Boys can be picked up, men can be tortured, beaten. The Zia had said Char Diwali and whatever starting of the whatever. So we knew as women, yeah. So we knew as women we couldn't be beaten and tortured. But my mother was worried for my sons, her sons. She said they can beat them, they can throw them in jail, torture them. I want them out. Plus, my parents had from the first day emphasized education. So they told us, my father actually called a friend of ours and said, "I want you to do this one thing, and that is, I want my kids to go back to studies." We were all in colleges. Only BB had finished and come back. And my parents told us, they said, "Go." My mother took us to the airport and she said to me and to my brothers, "If someone tries to take you off the plane or says, come with us or whatever, for any reason," she said, "hit them, kick them, bite them. Don't get off that plane. Get out and go and finish your studies." And that's luckily no one, we didn't have to bite and kick anyone. Yeah, but it was a very, very, it's very easy to talk. It was a very dangerous situation.
Yes.
In places like the third world, you leave the sinking ship. I mean, there were lots of people who did not leave the sinking ship, I have to say, who were so brave and who stuck it out. I mean, I talked to people who were, 18 and who were doing metric and they were locked in jails and all. And this was the children of the parents who were already with my father and the struggle to change Pakistan.
हजारों लोग जेल गए, कोड़े खाए, नौकरियां चली गईं, घर चले गए.
मुश्किल था. And somehow you come back, you can't bring everyone, though you wish to bring. Sometimes things happen, you don't know where somebody goes or what happens. But it was a very, very tough time for my family. I mean, it wasn't easy. Now, I don't know.
सनम, जब भुट्टो साहब प्राइम मिनिस्टर थे और टिक्का खान के बाद जनरल जिया को उसने आर्मी चीफ लगाया, डिड यू एवर सी दैट मैन? कभी देखा उसको?
I don't know. I probably saw them in here and there in some function, but I never bothered. I didn't bother to.
So you have no recollection of
No, I have no. Thank God, I have no recollection. I don't used to have recollection. But no, I don't have a recollection now.
भुट्टो साहब के बारे में एक चीज बहुत मशहूर है कि वो पढ़ते बहुत थे. He used to read a lot. Or he hardly slept. Is that true?
Yes, that's very true. First of all, itna calm, dispatch boxes, files, all the files he used to write on them and read every file. Sometimes we'd sit with him while he was doing file. Even to be fair, even my sister, poor thing, she used to say some working and she'd say, "Tum log baat karo while I work," so I can hear some normal talk. Anybody who does a high-powered job, when they relax, they want to relax the opposite. They want to do, like frivolous talk or just go do sort of the opposite of what they do. Like with me, unfortunately, all my life I've been a housewife. So I like to read serious books because you got to balance your life, So, but yes, my father was a very...
Did he listen to music? Did he like music?
Not as later on. I think he used to hear classical music, not, but late time, I don't think he had time to do all this. So not really. But yeah, he was a great book lover. He made us all love history. Hum bacche the and he used to read us the storybook History of Indo-Pak. So yeah, we all like, I'll also, I can.
और उनकी लाइब्रेरी 70 क्लिफ्टन में तो बड़ी
And the
मशहूर.
library, absolutely. He loved that library of his. His books were very, very dear to him. And my sister was the opposite. She'd read a book and give it away and say, I want as many people to read it. And I'd be like, how can you, baby? Because I cling on to all my books also. I refuse to give them away. So,
मुझे मौका मिला था a couple of years ago to go to 70 Clifton, you know, और मेरा यही सबसे ज्यादा ख्वाहिश ये थी कि लाइब्रेरी में देखूं क्योंकि वो इतनी सेलिब्रेटेड लाइब्रेरी है और है भी बड़ी खूबसूरत. But yeah, such is
I tell
life.
you, yeah.
You know, I know.
I don't get to see it either, so don't worry.
I know. मुझे वो मुझे पता है सारी. खैर वो उसमें हम उस एरिया में नहीं जाते. मगर ये कि जब भाई आपके दोनों फिर you know ये सारा कुछ हो गया, भुट्टो साहब चले गए और उसके बाद भाई भी एग्जाइल में चले गए. तो जब ये एग्जाइल में थे तो जाहिर बात है ये भी बड़ी डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशन में होंगे. मुर्तजा भुट्टो, शाहनवाज भुट्टो, ऑल्दो यहाँ पे पूरा पाकिस्तान में तो ये प्रोपेगेंडा था ना कि वो जुल्फकार जो है वो इंडिया वो कर रहे हैं और ये कर रहे हैं. बट आपका उनसे कम्युनिकेशन रहता था भाइयों से बात में?
बहुत कम. As I told you, in those days ना मोबाइल फोन था ना इंटरनेट था. कोई रैंडम अगर किधर गए and by chance they phoned us. First of all, उनको नहीं मालूम था माँ जेल में या बाहर है और बहन जेल में या बाहर. So it was impossible. It random chance भी अगर एक दफा I remember so clearly because we hardly got to talk to them that by chance the phone and we were, my mother, sister and I were there. So we could talk to my brothers and they had to pretend they were somewhere, you know, they couldn't tell us where they were. They were kids also. They were young. कौन था उनको direction देने बोलना ये करो या वो करो. My parents, and I think somebody wrote that, oh, my father said, go and take my revenge. Parents know their children. Why would my father ask a child, he says, go and study, finish your studies. My poor brother went with that thesis to Afghanistan, to here, to there, because he knew that was the primary aim. What he should have done is study. You know, my parents really placed a great emphasis. And of course, they'd say, you have to study, then you have to come back to Pakistan and repay the Haris who work hard and till the land to pay for your fees. That's why all of us came back. I only left Pakistan after my father. If my father hadn't been killed the way he was, I wouldn't have left Pakistan. So he was it was like, come back and work for your country. So you have to study, do well, and come back and work. There was never a question of, oh, go and live a good life abroad or have fun. No.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल उनकी तो बड़ी पब्लिक सर्विस की कमिटमेंट थी. बिल्कुल हमें पता है और वो उनकी राइटिंग्स में है, उनके लेटर्स में है जो सारे अब छप भी चुके हैं, ऑन रिकॉर्ड पे है. मगर जाहिर बात है, आई एम सो सॉरी सनम, मैं नहीं चाहता कि आप को इस तरह के मैं यू नो emotional things, लेकिन natural चीज है.
You get emotional sometimes, but I mean now it's easier for me. I don't have to cry hysterically for long periods.
I know, and I don't envy that क्योंकि जो आप पे गुजरी है फैमिली पे, और स्पेशली आप एक अब सोल सर्वाइवर हैं. और वो भी मैं कभी-कभी सोचता हूँ उसके बारे में, उसकी साइकोलॉजी, मतलब इट्स लाइक अ ग्रीक जैसे कि यूनानी ड्रामे में,
बिल्कुल सही आप कह रहे हैं.
ड्रामों में जो होता था, ये मतलब ये आप जो बातें बता रही हैं वो लगता है कि एक-एक चैप्टर है. तो मैं चाहता हूँ फिर उसके बाद फिर जब फाइनली बेनजीर भुट्टो साहिबा को भेज दिया गया एक्साइल में, वो आ गई, लंदन आ गई और आप भी बाहर थी उस वक्त. तो वो जो एक
टाइम मेरी माँ पहले गई because she was ill. You know, jails make you ill. After a while, you get ill. So मेरी माँ गई, she was very ill. When my sister also, they had to let her go. She wasn't well. She had many this ailments. She was thin as a stick.
कान में भी तकलीफ हो गई थी.
बिल्कुल थी तकलीफ. We had to go to University College Hospital and get it sorted out. And also they put that there was pressure from abroad. We had friends and all, and my aunt was living here. Dr. Niazi had come by then here, so they had trying to put pressure, but I think they let her go because she was unwell. If they thought she was well and she could survive more in jail, they wouldn't have let her go. But so I came with her. When
Right.
she, yeah, I had just gone back home and I was whatever, and yeah, I was there for a couple of years. Then I came with her, but then I came back home because I wasn't in exile. I mean, I was newly married. I had to go back to my house. So even when everything was good, we were never together. And I was in
Oh,
Pakistan and they were abroad. But anyway,
बिल्कुल, जी, जी।
that's the way life
स्पेशली
is.
वो जो पीरियड था जिसमें भुट्टो साहब जो आखिरी 1-1.5 साल जो जेल में थे और दोनों बच्चे मुर्तज़ा और शाहनवाज वो भी एग्जाइल में ही थे, उनकी पॉलिटिकल एक्टिविज्म भी थी, जलसे जुलूस ये वो, तो उनको कोई मैसेजिंग हुई, कोई पैगाम भुट्टो साहब की तरफ से, वो क्या चाहते थे उनके लिए कि वो जो उनकी रिलीज के लिए कोशिश कर रहे थे, एफर्ट्स ले रहे थे, व्हाट डिड ही expect of his sons?
Nothing. He expected his sons to study and make their own, I mean, and make their life. He didn't, which parent says, leave everything and just come from and save me? As I told you before, somebody said, I think in some book it's written, or he said, go save my life. No. They've never done army training. They've never been in the army. You see, the hands of the Sindhis they've lovely hands, they're all soft and whatever. Why would he say that to people who have no knowledge of how were they going to save? Do you think my father was that stupid that he thought one 19-year-old boy can fight a Pakistan army, the 5th largest army in the world? Come on. So people they add things or they want to justify things. But believe me, my father never told my brothers, either of them, to please go and take my revenge. Each child tried to do what they could. As you said, they did demonstrations here, bahut kuch koshish kiya. They galvanized MPs, members of parliament here. But no one told them not to. As I said, communication tha hi nahi. The last time I said, talk to my father was when I said goodbye when I was going for my 3rd year in college. And that was it. I never spoke to my father again. We weren't allowed to talk or meet or speak or whatever.
तो आपको फिर ये with the family, with you, especially with your mother and your sister, बाद में ये सारे सालों के बाद ये जो हो गया ट्रेजेडीज के बाद आप लोगों को मौका मिला कि कुछ ग्रीविंग का, कुछ एक दूसरे को तसल्ली देकर होल्ड करने का, क्योंकि ये भी बड़ा जरूरी होता है।
बिल्कुल
शैटरिंग एक्सपीरियंसेस से गुजरे आप लोग, तो वो कुछ मौका मिला आपको बाद में फिर?
Not really. I don't think we were very often together after that as all 4 of us with my mother, to be honest with you. Maybe my mom bahut koshish ki, she kept thinking, for a mother it's so hard. You're rotting in jail and you're thinking about your sons, how to bring them out, how to rehabilitate them in society, how to bring the family together. It's not easy, Raza, when time goes and one is here, one is there, one is somewhere else, each trying to survive the best we knew how to. We were lucky my khala was living here, my auntie Betcha. Otherwise, kaun tha hamara? Nobody. So it wasn't easy. We never really got a healing thing, all of us together. And I don't know, as I said, 1 month after I came anyway, they dragged my mother's sister up to house arrest jail, sub jail. So unfortunately, no, we didn't really have time.
मैं ये सवाल हमेशा पूछना चाहता था क्योंकि मैं पढ़ता हूँ अकाउंट्स, मैंने बीबी साहिबा की पढ़ी है, बुक्स भी पढ़ी हैं, इंटरव्यूज देखे, आपकी सुनी बातें, भाइयों
मेरे माँ बाप, मेरी माँ और बहन निकले 2-3 साल बाद ना भाई फोर्थ हो, Shahnawaz died. We never got the time to heal. My brother died. My daughter was 6 months old. I was happy for that 6 months. My younger brother, that's to me the most painful death. He was so young to die alone and to suffer the way he suffered.
I know, बेचारा.
I tried to block it out for years. I didn't want to make. But now, as a grown-up, I think of it and I say he was so young. He did nothing to anybody.
बिल्कुल.
Every time we got over one death, there was another death. How can you? When do we have time to heal?
That's right. क्योंकि इतना ज्यादा वो जैसे कहते हैं ना, वो एक जुमला एक शेक्सपियर का कि when they come in battalions. तो एक के बाद exile, deaths, murders,
It was never ending cases. They were always persecuting us. When I got married, they weren't allowed to take the name of Bhutto. You know, martial law people, I don't know if they realize martial law ka kya difference hai with real law. You can make any law up. Every day there was a new law made to hinder my mother, my sister, my family. There was a law saying you can't use the word Bhutto after the hijacking. You could not use the word Bhutto in papers. When I was getting married, they wrote, though they wanted to show that, that Sanam Bhutto is getting married or whatever, one of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's children. They wrote दो दीवानों की पोतों और पोती की शादी, because both our grandparents were divan of Junagadh.
Right.
But it looked like दो दीवानों, so people looked to see कौन दो दीवाने हैं जो उनके माँ बाप उनके बच्चे शादी कर रहे हैं, and it came out that it was दीवानास, it was divan of. So they were very tough times. You know, one can't dwell on them.
I know one can't dwell, and I apologize again, Sanam
please, it's fine.
But you know, ये चीजें जरूरी हैं, क्योंकि मैं आपको एक बात बताऊं कि पाकिस्तान में एक तो मसला जो है, सोलंकी साहब इसको इंडोर्स करेंगे मेरी बात को, कि इतना मैसिव प्रोपेगेंडा किया गया, वो 77 से आज तक वो जारी है, about the Bhuttos,
बिल्कुल, you're absolutely right.
About चलो लेट बीबी साहिबा तो एक्टिव थी, पब्लिक लाइफ में थी, उन्होंने किसी हद तक अपना सारा, you know, she was a fighter. लेकिन भाइयों के बारे में, आपकी वालिदा के बारे में, आपके बाप के बारे में,
इससे बड़ी ट्रेजेडी क्या होगी कि बेनजीर भुट्टो साहिबा मुल्क की प्राइम मिनिस्टर हैं और उनका भाई जो है उसको कत्ल किया जाता है दिन दहाड़े कराची में, और फिर इल्जाम भी अपनी बहन पे लगाते हैं, और फिर जर्नलिस्ट अगर उससे पूछें कि यू वर द प्राइम मिनिस्टर, हाउ डिड इट हैपन, मतलब इससे ज्यादा
गुड थिंग सोलंकी साहब, मैं कहती हूँ थैंक गॉड फॉर अस भुट्टोस, बिकॉज अगर इफ वी weren't there, जब खराब चीजें होते हैं, जब थिंग्स डोंट वर्क, किसको ब्लेम करेंगे? Good, they've got us. Blame everything on us. From the 65 war till the end of time, blame everything on us, Bhuttos. I don't care, because I know the truth, and I know how hard each and every member of my family worked, not for themselves, but for the betterment of other people.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, बेनजीर साहिबा ने तो अपनी जान दे दी. मतलब वो मैंने आपका देखा था जब ये एक इंटरव्यू, you know, when you said कि you did not want her to go back, you were also one of them कि जब मत जाओ वापस, right?
Absolutely. I didn't want my sister to go back, but she had decided to go back, and I knew she had decided to go back. I never said don't go. I just said, what about security? What about your security? Obviously, there was no security. No. But
Bilkul.
I think for my sister, we had such an opportunity when Benazir became a prime minister. We could have changed that whole image of the terror, whatever, Afghan thing. People were willing to do anything for us, but we didn't accept it ourselves. I mean, but whatever it is, her legacy is there. Every little girl child knows, from Sarhad, from the mountains of Sarhad to the delta of Sindh. If I study, I want to be whoever I want to be, I can be. And that is for me the biggest legacy that she's left.
Bilkul.
Because she was the first Muslim woman ever to
again 36 years old, a bachchi.
बिल्कुल, very young. और मैं ये भी कहूँ कि उनकी एक और लेगेसी भी है compassion की. Benazir Bhutto साहिबा was a forgiving person.
Very forgiving. And you know, it's sad that people didn't, I don't know why society or public people didn't help, they didn't want to make a betterment. I don't know. I thought there should be a change, there should be people like excited about a new, what it has trickled down, because you see a lot more people working, you see the fashion industry, you see movie industry, which was non-existent during, I mean, Zia made sure it was non-existent. But anyway, that's sad, but we missed the opportunity in Pakistan, I feel.
बिल्कुल. तो लेकिन अभी तो आपने पॉलिटिक्स में क्यों नहीं, आपको भी लोगों ने कहा होगा कि सनम अब कब आप आ जाए सारे, आई एम श्योर फैमिली के अंदर बाहर लोगों ने पीपीपी के जो हैं.
बिल्कुल.
Why did you decide?
Well, I think I was never into politics, but another thing is, once you live in a land where there's law and order, and where you know how to go by the rule book, it's very hard to go back to a country where anything happens. right? So I lived in London. Even now I keep saying, oh, I'm going to go back for my old age, but it's very hard to do that, Raza. Once you learned, you have known the ways here, and it's easy to live an independent, free thinking life within the bounds of society.
बिल्कुल
So it's very hard to go back. Second of all, I've seen how much my father worked, busted his chops, I tell you, morning, noon, and night, how much we sacrifice as a family. They won't let you do work. I saw my sister making us say, talk, so I can, while I'm working, I can hear some. They won't let you do it. Why would I want to kill myself?
असल
Right?
बात तो ये है
I
असल
mean,
बात
I don't mind dying. We all got to go sometime, right?
नहीं
But
नहीं
it's just,
लेकिन
I don't
you
think
know
you
the
can do
parents
anything. Yeah.
yeah you know
I
the
think there are
parents
other forces there who just don't want change, who don't really want people, the real majority poor people, to get, I don't know why, but
जी
because the country, unless the people don't move up and the women aren't educated, it's never going to progress. It's just no
बिल्कुल
way.
बिल्कुल तो अभी तो खैर मैं तो ये समझता हूँ कि आपने बिल्कुल ठीक किया पॉलिटिक्स का क्योंकि जो आपने एक्सपीरियंस देखा और जिस तरह से टारगेट किया गया भुट्टो फैमिली को और आज भी आप देखिए बिलावल भुट्टो जो हैं मतलब ही इज अ प्रोग्रेसिव रोशन ख्याल फॉरवर्ड लुकिंग
Bilkul, I agree.
यंग मैन लेकिन जिस तरह की वो भी फेस करता है ऑब्स्टिकल्स जिस तरह की और सिक्योरिटी के थ्रेट्स और ये और वो मतलब वो सिस्टर खैर very brave of him and his
My heart breaks for him, Raz. I don't want him to do it, but he's so committed to
he's
it.
committed like his mother
And once you work hard and you commit yourself, it's very hard to just say, okay, toodle do, I'm off. You've got responsibilities of other people who बहुत
people have
मुश्किल है.
expectations उम्मीदें हैं
Exactly.
अभी
हाँ.
भी लोगों को ना ये
बिल्कुल
बस
सही आप कहते हैं, but it really, I don't know. But I'm so happy that I'm here, so I can be there. I can be there for my niece's weddings. I can be there for their births and whatever, and of course for my own kids. But my brother's children also. They're all my nieces and nephews. I love my brother.